Assalamu alaikum, fam. Hope you're doing well. So, we are continuing our overall reading of The Tragedy of Julius Caesar of Shakespeare. I love Shakespeare. You learn about him in many, many classes, and if you learn the language of Shakespeare, I have to say, your English level is going to go way, way up. Okay? There's a big value in understanding higher levels of English where words have different, manifold meanings, and how he plays with words really enlightens you and pushes your brain to contemplate even more. So I highly recommend you to learn more about him, and me walking you through it, help giving you meta commentary, will help you whenever you have to learn about him, right? Especially if you have to read him in class, you have to write a paper. I took a class on Shakespeare, got an A, mashallah. I read Macbeth. That's my favorite one, by the way. So I'm very familiar with this, and it's easy for me. It might not be for you, but God willing, it will be after we get through this. I also recommend watching a play of this if you are a student and you're struggling with how you can really picture the scenes. Maybe you have a lack of imagination. You can always watch a play, right? In fact, our professor made us go to see a play so that we could write a certain paper on it. Okay, most theater districts will have some Shakespearean plays for you with a good price for a ticket. If you are not Muslim, you might have to just watch it on TV, right? I mean, if you're a Muslim, you might have to segregate. But if you're not Muslim and you have this class, you can go to a play. Okay? So we were still in scene 2, act 1, okay? We were still dealing with the dialogue between Cassius and Brutus. Now, what's difficult about this book, it doesn't have the line numbers. And if you don't have the line numbers, you have to write it yourself. But sometimes you can be like, oh, I'm in scene 2 and I'm on line 27, right? But basically, you'll be able to see where we are once we talk. Okay, Cassius. I am glad that my weak words have struck but thus much show of fire from Brutus. See, so already, he's saying his weak words. Now, as you know, Cassius has been quite conniving. So notice how he says weak words that cause a fire from Brutus. A fire is strong, but was sparked by weak words. So it kind of shows you how he's inflamed Brutus, but we know that's not exactly true, right? From what's been happening in the scene thus far. The games are done and Caesar is returning. Cassius, as they pass by, pluck Casca by the sleeve, and he will, after his sour fashion, tell you what hath proceeded worthy note today. So that's interesting. So Cassius is going to pass by and, pluck him, so pull him. They used to wear those togas in the Rome, how those senators used to dress. So he's like, hey, his sour fashion. So clearly, Casca is someone who's like, meh, 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 like a senator like that. And he's going to tell you what happened. Okay, now we are re-enter Caesar and his train. Brutus. I will do so, but look you, Cassius. The angry spot doth glow on Caesar's brow, and all the rest look like a chidden train. Calpurnia's cheek is pale, and Cicero looks with such ferret and such fiery eyes as we have seen him in the Capitol, being crossed in conference by some senators. So, notice how he's talking about such ferret, right? So, fiery eye, Cicero. So when he's being crossed in conference by some senators, meaning when the Roman senators used to stand up and talk and have their debates, right? It'd be very exciting, very like, hey, It wasn't dry and boring like today, like, just hit the gavel and that's it. No, it was more lively. So, Cicero, right? Someone's crossed him. Somebody has made their objections known. Boom. They get that look from Cicero. And Cicero is a very wise guy, right? We don't have much of his writings. I've had one book of his, but unfortunately, a lot of his works didn't survive, but his reputation lives on, which lets you know he was great at oration, was a good statesman, and he first was against Caesar, but later bent the knee, right? After he lost his battles. So Cassius saying like, hey, and Brutus talking about Cicero really shows you. Cassius, Casca will tell us what the matter is. Caesar. Antonius. Antony. Caesar. Let me have men about me that are fat, sleek-headed men, and such as sleep o' nights. Yon Cassius has lean and hungry look. He thinks too much. Such men are dangerous. So Caesar, he said that line, right? Let me have men about me that are fat. So it's like, they're kind of just like satisfied with eating. And remember, they used to go to these type of dinners, right? So it's like you can see this fat man as being someone to be more placated. He says, sleek-headed men. So it's not no beautiful sense of beautification there, right? Kind of balding maybe, losing their hair, so they're more wise than the young Roman statesman who is ambitious, who wants to take Caesar on. And said, such as sleep o' nights. So the rowdy young men of the Roman city, out at night, doing what they're doing. Whereas an older man might be home, looking at the scrolls, looking at what they have to do, So it's like, interesting how he plays that. Cassius, now we know Cassius has a hungry look, how he was manipulating Brutus. So a hungry look, like he's eager, he's really egging in on it, And he thinks too much. Such men are dangerous. So he's sitting there quiet, thinking, right? Which is true. We have realized that with how Shakespeare has depicted such a character, right? Okay. Antony. Fear him not, Caesar. He is not dangerous. He is a noble Roman and well given. Caesar. Would he were fatter, but I fear him not. Yet, if my name were liable to fear, I do not know the man I should avoid. So soon as that spare Cassius, he reads much. He is a great observer, and he looks quite through the deeds of men. He loves no plays, as dost thou, Antony. He hears no music. Seldom he smiles, and smiles in such a sort as if he mocked himself and scorned his spirit, that he could be moved to smile at anything. Such men as he be never at heart's ease, whiles they behold a greater than themselves, and therefore are they very dangerous. I rather tell thee what is to be feared than what I fear, for as always I am Caesar. Come on my right hand, for this ear is deaf, and tell me truly what thou thinkest of him. Cool. So Caesar, as you can tell, he can see something's up with Cassius, right? He can see like something's not going right here. So he reads much, so he's not an ignoramus, right? He's not just bumping about. He reads a lot, he's very studious, so he can't be outwitted as easy. Someone who is underread, kind of retarded, it's not really someone to exactly be feared for their cunning and for their wit. More of their brute force, right? So he highlights that. That's why he says, also, he said he reads much, but also is an observer. So he watches, what's going on, right? People who observe things, whether they be in nature or people, they're silent and they watch what's going on. They take in a different angle of the situation. Caesar knows this also because he was indeed the warrior of Gaul. He conquered it. He knew what had to be done, right? He had to look at the battlefield and observe. So Shakespeare is doing justice by depicting Caesar's character in this way in his play. And then he says, he looks quite through the deeds of men. So he looks beyond just the action. So he reads, he observes, and he looks something deeper than just like what is the action, right? He loves no plays. So he's not a man of entertainment too much, right? He's doing something else. He's reading. He's not feasting on entertainment. As dost thou, Antony. And so he kind of digs a little jab at Antony there, right? So, it's funny. He hears no music. So here again, no music, no plays. Instead, reading, observing, looking through the deeds of men. Seldom he smiles, and he smiles in such a sort as if he mocked himself and scorned his spirit. So his smile isn't like a, It's more of like a like you know, like looks like he's mocking his own soul. He's scorning himself. So it's like the smile is not one of pure joy. It's not a Santa Claus smile. It's not a jolly smile, as they'd say, right? Really shows you that he could be moved to smile at anything. So really showing you, like, this guy is not easy to make smile, and when he does smile, you wonder about that smile, right? So again, he's telling him, this is what I think, tell me what you think. Senate extends Caesar and all his train but Casca. Casca. You'd pull me by the cloak. Would you speak with me? Brutus. Ay, Casca, tell us what hath chanced today, that Caesar looks so sad. Why, you were with him, were you not? I should not then ask Casca what had chanced. So, you see a little bit of wit here. So Brutus was like, tell me what happened. And Casca was like, were you not there? And, you know, and he's like, if I was there, I wouldn't be asking you, basically. Why there was a crown offered him, and being offered him, he put it by with the back of his hand. Thus and then the people fell shouting. So here's a pivotal scene. The back of the hand, he used the back. If you use the front to push, it's more of an insult, but back is like, no. So each detail matters. So people wanting Caesar to be a dictator, a king. Now Rome is a republic with representatives. There's an aristocracy. There's a system of set laws. A dictator can make laws as he goes. But if you are in a republic, you cannot make laws as you go. You have to follow what has been laid down through the law, through the Senate, right? A dictator can write laws without the Senate. He can utilize the Senate, but the Senate is not what can hold him back as much, right? A king, obviously, can totally override a Senate. So when they're talking about the crown, this was the fear of the Republican politicians, the statesmen of this time. They did not want Caesar to do that, and that is eventually what led to his assassination, because they feared it, and they killed him on the Senate floor, right? Brutus, one of the men he forgot, being one of those traitors who did that, right? So you're seeing quite a lot here. Brutus, what was the second noise for? Why, for that too. They shout thrice. What was the last cry for? Why, for that too. What was the crown offered him thrice? Casca. Hey, merry was it, and he put it by thrice, every time gentler than the other, and at every putting by mine honest neighbors shouted. So here, look at that. 3 times. And he said, gentler than the other. So first it's like no, and then no, and then no. Which shows you leaning towards it. Which shows you inclining towards maybe you want to take that crown of power. Which something that would have struck fear in the Roman senators, right? Because they're seeing the common people love Caesar beyond what they think is acceptable. They are fearful of that. So, you know, it really does show you. And Brutus is inquiring. You could see kind of how Cassius's prodding has made him turn a suspicious eye to his friend, right? So the cunning of Cassius towards Brutus is starting to show itself, right? And it is said that Caesar and Servilia, Brutus' mother, were lovers, right? They, you know, there's a relationship there. It's also noted that, you know, Brutus grew up even around Caesar's daughter, right? That Caesar paid for Brutus's tutoring. So this is like a very close son type figure who Cassius is trying to turn against his role model, you know, imperial father. So that's interesting. So again, the language here you get easy with it. You're gonna learn. Don't worry. Alhamdulillah. Inshallah. But again, the people were shouting for him to take the crown, and then they shouted when he dismissed the crown. So that is what they're inquiring about, right? Again, though, the dialogue between Caesar and Antony being like, oh, fear him not. Antony was a great warrior. He's the one who fought. He ended up being with Cleopatra, right? After Caesar had been with her, and Octavius, Caesar's nephew, adopted son, adopted heir, fought with Antony, Mark Antony. So here you can see Antony's soldiery coming out. The men did love Antony, it is said, for his warrior-esque spirit, right? Octavius was more intellectual. Mark Antony was a soldier till the end. But again, very fascinating. Hope you enjoyed.